I don't think I even blinked once during that number. I've never felt so nervous watching dancing. There, that'll do for... Ow! I just banged my head on the light. Hello darlings, how are you? Welcome to another fabulous episode of Fabaret. My name is Richard. If this is your first time here, welcome to the Fabaret family. Mwah. Okay, so drama everybody. Last week I promised you my next video was... the Christmas decorations are falling off the wall. Hang on. You stick there. You stay there. Come on. Stay. Keep that Christmas spirit in you. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, so my lovely Fab fam, I promised you at the end of my last video that I was going to be bringing you a review of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I was off to see the stage musical production at Leeds Grand Theatre, and yeah, this happened.
We are not able to resolve the technical fault, and so we'll have to cancel the rest of the performance. Please keep your tickets, and the Leeds Grand Theatre will be in touch tomorrow to discuss your options. We are so sorry, but hope to see you again soon. Take care and all the day. Thank you.
So unfortunately, my lovely Fab fam, what happened was when the bed was flying up in its first scene and came down afterwards, backstage, it actually hit a massive power cable and it took out loads of things that were meant to make the show extra spectacular. So we got about 45 minutes into Act 1. We were sitting there for an hour afterwards waiting for tech problems to be sorted out before they announced it was all cancelled. But the good news is I've got my ticket rebooked, I'm going back. So like a trooper, I had to make sure I had an awesome video for you today. So I rushed out the next night and I saw the West Side Story film. This is the new adaptation directed by Steven Spielberg. So let's talk quickly about the history of West Side Story. It opened on Broadway in 1957 and there was a film adaptation in 1961. The music was originally written by Leonard Bernstein and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. The late great Stephen Sondheim, rest in peace Stephen. So this new film adaptation has been in development since 2014. Casting took place in 2018 and filming took place over 2 months from July to September in 2019. Now the film was meant to come out in Christmas 2020, but thanks to good old COVID, it didn't. So before I get into all these lovely notes that I scribbled away in the cinema, overall I would say this is a very powerful adaptation. It's not a revival of the film, it's a reimagining of it. So when we first go into the film, we have the whistling, the classic style whistling that goes over the shots of New York that we also get in the 1961 film. I got very much vibes of Kill Bill. It was quite interesting. The actual font and style of the titles when it comes up with the words West Side Story is actually very different to all the promotional material that's been used. And we had wide crane shots going in. You felt very absorbed into the environment of New York. And it was kind of a reminder that New York itself really feels like a character in this film. So for those of you who aren't familiar with West Side Story, it's based on Romeo and Juliet, Montagues versus Capulets. In West Side Story, it's Jets versus Sharks, two very cool but rival gangs against each other. And Tony's from the Jets, Maria's from the Sharks, and they meet and fall in love, and like in Romeo and Juliet, things don't go very well. So straight off, we instantly meet the Jets, and they are cool as. They're on this building site and they're stealing paint. And as we saw the Jets all gathering together, walking through the streets with the paint, quite a lot of points of view shots, and it really made me feel like I was really part of the gang. I mean, you get this instant sense of loyalty between all of them, even though nothing has yet been said at all. And straight from the start with this sequence, throughout the film, there's so many simulated flares. And that must have been done on purpose because it gives a kind of documentary feel to it. Now, as soon as the Jets and the Sharks meet, we are straight into physical fighting. I'm going to try not to compare the old film to the new film too much, but there are some comparisons I want to talk about. So with the 1961 film, the choreography when the Jets and the Sharks first meet is tense, but it is more choreographed dance than full-on fighting. So instantly, the new version feels rougher, grittier in comparison. And the dialogue also feels the same, it's more brutal, more real. And the first theatre person that I recognised was Brian Darcy James, who plays the role of Officer Krupke. And Mike Feist, who plays Riff in the film, also played Connor Murphy in the original Broadway cast of Dear Evan Hansen opposite Ben Platt. Now it's interesting, in this new version, Riff's physicality is leaner and smaller than the other Jets, which I was surprised by, but what it actually cleverly does is it highlights his younger, naive style of looking at get the way of the world. You know, in relation to him not being able to think of anything other than getting revenge and always getting one up on the sharks. So we move into the Jets song, and instantly you can tell there's a clear separation between the Jets and the public from the clothes that they're wearing. The Jets have a very strong colour scheme of blue and green going on, and you don't see much of that in everyone else around them. Now this was a really clever part that I loved. When the Jets are crossing the road during a bit of the music, the orchestration actually lines up with cars braking in front of them. So you actually hear the engines going One thing I noticed straight away when the sharks were getting more introduced, there's a bigger feeling of diversity in this cast, which does actually highlight the issues of racism much more that I think the 1961 film didn't touch on as strongly. Okay, let's talk a bit about Ansel Elgort, who plays Tony. I have to admit there were some moments where his acting did feel a bit wooden at times, but only in comparison to other characters, especially when we get to his love scenes with Maria, who's played by Rachel Ziegler. Rachel, when she's performing as Maria with her love scenes with Tony, she is pouring her heart and soul into every single moment. And in comparison, Ansel just isn't putting in as much. But when it comes to the fighting scenes, when he has to be angry with like Riff or Bernardo, his acting is so much more powerful. Oh, let's talk about the fabulous cameo from Rita Moreno. So Valentina owns the shop that Tony is now working in since Tony has gone straight and been a good boy, not involved really with the Jets anymore. And Rita played Anita in the 1961 film. A big thing that people have been talking about is that there aren't any subtitles for when the characters are speaking in Spanish. Spielberg has mentioned that that was done out of respect, because that language had to exist alongside English in equal proportions with no help or assistance. And I do get that logic, but when I was watching the film, I did understand everything that was going on, and it got me thinking that perhaps the reason they've kept out the subtitles is because they're trying to get the message across that actually love transcends all other types of language and communication. Now, throughout this film, the choreography is stunning, but I particularly loved the gym scene. And this is where I noticed another famous face, for my shame, Maddie Ziegler. So Maddie Ziegler was on Dance Moms, a reality show that I watched many an hour of in my youth. And she's also famous for dancing in Sia's music videos. And Maddie plays one of the Jet girls, Velma. Now in the gym scene, we see more of a contrast between the Jets and the Sharks because of the clothes that they're wearing. So the Jets are more blue and green, the Sharks are more red and yellow. So you get this feeling of blue is for Jets, red is for Sharks. Hence why I'm wearing a blue t-shirt and we've got a red background today. But Tony and Maria are both wearing black and white, which is interesting because it's showing that they're different from each other to begin with, but also they're different from the Jets and the Sharks as well in their ways of thinking, because of course they come together, so they clearly are not as detailed on the differences between the two groups. Now the first time Tony and Maria meet and they link eyes, it was just beautiful. In other productions of West Side Story I've seen, traditionally Tony and Maria, when they first meet and do their first dance together, there's other cast members like in the shadows in the background doing the same dance that they are. But in this new version, they go behind the gym seating, so it's actually more intimate because they're both on their own, no one else around at all. And as they come more together, you see elements of blue and red in the back lighting, which kind of blend into this pure white, which for me felt like the two worlds of Sharks being red and Jets being blue merging and blending together for the first time into the most purest, beautiful form ever. Love, true love. Oh. And then after all the gym drama, we move into the famous balcony scene. Now when they sing Tonight, I really felt Rachel's emotion coming out of her. It was just pure, raw power. I mean, the problem was maybe it was so powerful that it made Ansel's performance feel a bit weaker at times. Okay, the next big song, America. So America, led by the character of Anita, and Anita was played by Ariana DeBose. I mean, America was just full of colour and twirling, and I was mesmerised. I don't think I even blinked once during that number. And then what's great, after America, we go into this scene where Rita Moreno's character, Valentina, she's clearly there to try and give some reality to the situation, probably the point of view that the audience might be giving to Tony. So Tony's trying to learn how to say various romantic phrases in Spanish. And Valentina does make comments to Tony about the speed that the relationship's going at. They haven't even known each other for a day at this point. And it's great, her asking Tony, why don't you just ask her out for a drink first instead of declaring your undying love for eternity for her? Oh, another thing that we need to talk about in this new adaptation is the take that's been given to the character of Anybody's, who in the film and in most productions is usually depicted as a girl who's a bit of a tomboy who wants to be part of the Jets. But in this new version, it's made quite clear that the character is trans. So played by non-binary actor Iris Minaz, There's a key moment in the police station scene where the Jets speculate about Anybody's gender and they insist that she's a girl. But Anybody's is like, I'm not going to let someone else decide my gender, and just comes back brilliantly with, I ain't no girl. And it was wonderful to see a new take on that character, especially as the world has become more accepting to these kind of things over the last few years. Okay, let's talk about the Officer Krupke song, because this comes at a point in the film where we really do need a good laugh. Now, the song started off with very different orchestration than I'm used to, and the way it slowly built up towards the second verse. I was quite surprised they did that because this is such a rare comedy moment in West Side Story, so normally you find that productions tend to go for it and really hammer it out from the start. Bang, straight into it. Gee, Officer Krupke. But the slow build-up they did to then lead into the fast-pacedness from the second verse, it did actually work. There was a moment which really took me back actually when the character sang straight to camera, My Brother Wears a Dress, and it was such a quick look to camera that I wondered if that was a little nod to the fact that they were trying to develop Anybody's character in terms of gender in comparison to previous productions. Oh, and this was interesting. Then we move on to the song Cool, which actually was taken in a completely different order. I was like, what's going on? It's not in the right order. So in stage versions, Cool is traditionally sung by Riff before him and the Jets go into battle in the big rumble with the Sharks. In the 1961 version, they have the rumble and then Riff dies and they sing the song Cool afterwards. But in this version, what they've done now is they've put the Cool song back to before the rumble, but it's Tony mainly singing it to Riff and the Jets to try and get them to calm down. Hey guys, be cool, don't go to that rumble, come on. And I really liked that. It was a clever new take on it. I mean, I think the song, in terms of the order of the story, does work either going before or after the rumble. But I'd never seen a version before where Tony was singing the song. And it was a bit odd to see Tony suddenly singing a song that had nothing to do with love, because let's face it, that's what he pretty much sings about throughout the whole show. I mean, that whole scene with Tony and Riff fighting to try and get the gun off each other, I was just waiting for the gun to go off. I was just like, please don't go off gun, please don't go off gun, please don't go off gun. I've never felt so nervous watching dancing. And like I said before, in this Cool song, I really felt Ansel's acting coming more through on the screen with these fight scenes with like Riff and the Jets in that Cool number and then later on in the Rumble. What I found very powerful about Riff's death, which was done much better than the 1961 film, is that after Bernardo stabs Riff in this new version, Riff kind of takes the knife out, falls around a bit, but he still tries to play it really cool and be like one of the guys like, hey guys, it's cool, don't worry about it, you know, yeah. It did feel a bit bizarre, but he's never known anything else other than to play this cool guy Riff, so even in his death, that's still what he's gonna do. So Rachel playing Maria and Ariana DeBose playing Anita, these two actresses were the highlight of the film for me. And we get this incredibly powerful scene between them in A Boy Like That. So at this stage in the film, Maria knows that Tony has killed Bernardo, Maria's brother, and Anita, who is Bernardo's partner, is obviously completely mortified about it. But Maria says she still loves Tony, she can't help but love him, Tony is her love. So yeah, this whole song sealed the deal for me. The moment where Maria is singing to Anita, saying how she still loves Tony, she can't help but love him, Ariana's acting is incredible. It's phenomenal. Her look of initial raw disgust moving into understanding and slowly coming to a very hard acceptance without even saying a single word, because Maria's singing this whole time. It was just so incredibly beautiful. I don't even think I blinked, it was that mesmerizing. Anita tells Valentina that actually Chino has shot Maria and that Maria is dead. And Valentina passes that message on to Tony, so Tony now thinks Maria is dead. I know I've said Ansel's acting was quite wooden at times, but there was this one incredible moment when he thinks that Maria is dead. He kind of stumbles over to a wall. He turns around to Valentina and he kind of has his hands in his head and he's just looking at her, and it's this horrible look of just pure terror, as if like his life is just over now. What's the point now? He's lost everything. And I was actually really scared for him at that point, like genuinely worried. I just wish we could have seen more of that level of passion with Tony in the previous love scenes with Maria. And then we come to the end where Chino has shot Tony, spoiler alert, sorry, and you can instantly see the sparkle in Maria's eyes when she realizes that Tony is dead. The sparkle in her eyes is just gone. West Side Story is always an interesting one because there's no happy ending. It doesn't have a huge ensemble end number where everybody's happy and everyone goes out the door dancing away. It's actually a really tragic ending. And I do wish they had given a bit more time to that, because in a way it did feel quite rushed. So that's my review, lovies. Quite a lot to take in there, but I hope you enjoyed that. All in all, I'd say definitely go and watch this film. It's a darker, grittier, more realistic adaptation of the film, and it's currently got a 93% approval rate on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, that's it for me this week, my lovelies. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I pinky promise, that my review of Bedknobs and Broomsticks will be coming to you next week, because I'm going back to these a second time to hopefully watch the whole show. And what's your thoughts on the new West Side Story film? Do comment below if you've watched it, I'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, my Fab fam. I will see you next week. Bye! Mwah.